Hello, welcome back to the channel. Today we have a guest, Devan.
Hey guys, nice to see you.
Welcome back. This time it's not an interview. We're gonna talk about some topics. It's a Pride Month, so we're gonna talk about some topics about LGBTQ plus people, right?
Yep.
And I think we're gonna discuss some differences between Japan and Canada, things like that. Sounds good?
Sounds good.
Right. Anyway, first of all, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was a little under the weather before, so
Yeah.
I didn't do anything this whole month. But
You said you've been sick, right?
yeah, but took it easy, rested. Now I feel much better.
That's good. That's
Yeah.
good.
How about you? How are you?
I'm doing all right. Yeah. Yeah, same. Weather has
Mm.
been kind of meh, right?
Right. It's the weather, and then I think there's a lot of I think it's the cold that's just going around Tokyo right now. Everyone's nose is getting
Yeah,
infected.
right. Yeah,
Everyone.
that's right. I
Right.
had that a while ago, and then it took so long to do.
I was out for like 3 weeks. It was bad.
That's no fun.
No.
But
I'm back.
yeah, you're back. You're back. That's
Yeah.
good. Oh, one thing new for me is that I switched to a new gym.
Oh, right. You mentioned that, right?
Yeah.
You had a personal trainer for about 2 years, I think?
3 years.
3 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I finally switched to just a normal job, right?
Yeah.
Normal gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been quite different.
Oh, really?
But I've been trying to stick to my, regular schedule.
Your routine. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's been working well.
Okay.
It's obviously more difficult,
Yeah.
just doing the same workouts without the trainer
Okay.
is more difficult, 'cause
Is it?
I think so, because I was spoiled pretty much.
Yeah?
Now
In what way?
I don't have him, so I don't know if I'm doing it in a proper way
Right.
or something like that. I hope I can some way and get more muscles, trying to get more
Ooh.
fit.
Very nice. I mean,
Summer's coming.
summer exciting about you going for a summer body?
Hopefully.
Not me. I want to eat donuts.
I know. I don't think I go to the gym just to look good. It's more for health purpose.
Yeah.
Because I had a really bad back pain a couple of years ago, and then
Okay.
I've been trying to stay fit. I'm not
Yeah,
fit,
yeah.
obviously, but
Okay.
trying to
Be active every
yeah,
day.
be active. Yeah. No, I do it 3 times a week.
You already do. Yeah, I can tell. Yeah.
You can't really tell.
Yes, you can. Oh my god, your arms.
I'm just a big boy. Not just here. Overall.
Hear that?
Oh
Big boy.
no, that's not what I meant.
Uh-huh. Okay. But anyways, 3 times a week.
Yeah. I'm trying to stick to the routine. So since it's Pride Month,
Yeah.
we have Tokyo Pride.
Yes.
Actually, it's next weekend.
TRP.
TRP.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've been to Tokyo Pride before, right?
Yes, I went to my first year last year.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So, what did you think?
There were so many people. Like,
Yeah.
I've gone to, I'm from Toronto, so I've gone to Toronto Pride, but I wasn't expecting Tokyo's Pride to be so big. Like, because it happens at Yoyogi Park, right?
Yeah.
And in Toronto, they have the stage, but it's very comparable. But like, it's a whole citywide event, right? And Pride is like a whole month in
Right,
Canada.
yeah.
People are celebrating all the time. It's like, you can feel it in the energy. You can feel the energy in the air, And I was, that was my base. So I was kind of thinking that, okay, Tokyo is a little more, it's Japan. It's going to be a little more toned down, a little more reserved, maybe.
Right.
Nope. They're doing their thing here too.
Yeah.
They got the huge stage, they got people performing, they got all the drag queens and everyone. They've got, spokespeople talking about, their causes. You have all the booths and everything. This was it was a proper Pride. And I'm just like, and it's growing. And I'm just like, wow, this is pretty cool. I like it. It's really nice. Like I think Pride is Tokyo Pride is it's proper Pride.
Oh, that's really good to hear.
And that's why this year I only went to the like stage and the parade.
Okay.
So this year, I want to go to the events afterwards, like the after parties and stuff.
Right.
Or the I guess circuit parties. Yeah, this will be my first time this year.
Oh,
So I'm really excited for that.
I couldn't go to Tokyo Pride last year.
Yeah.
I was busy with other stuff, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going this time, and
Mhm.
hopefully I can recall something. But
Right.
so 2 years ago, I interviewed people at the event.
Oh,
That was that was a lot of work.
Yeah.
I didn't really expect, that it was really hard to talk to random people.
What was so hard about it?
People don't want to talk to the camera, begin with.
Okay.
And
Right.
people are shy, right? Some people are not sure,
Yeah.
what I was recording for.
Yeah. Right.
So what is this? What is the channel? Like how can I use this footage or something like that?
Right.
So
yeah.
It was really difficult to
Get people's
get some
permission,
trust and
yeah.
start the interview.
Right.
But it was really good to hear some different voices.
Yeah.
And this is gonna be the first topic we wanna discuss here.
Yeah.
So I interviewed people about same-sex marriage in Japan.
Yeah.
It's not legal yet, but a lot of people are working on it, right? And actually, did you know that there are some lawsuit cases in Japan about same-sex marriage?
No, I'm not familiar. No.
People are doing it,
Really?
to see if the court thinks it's constitutional.
Okay.
It's been getting much better. I think there are 5 or 6 locations in Japan.
Yeah.
Where the same case is going,
Okay.
and out of 6, like five, those courts said it's unconstitutional.
Right.
So there's some progress.
Okay.
Yeah,
Huh.
a lot of people are supporting it. But what I was surprised when I interviewed people 2 years ago, it was 2 years ago. I talked to some gay guys, young guys, right?
Yeah.
People probably in their 20s.
Okay.
They didn't really think same-sex marriage was very necessary.
Oh,
Legally.
Really?
And I asked them why.
Yeah.
So they said, we are happy as is.
For now. Yeah.
For now. And I don't have any issues without that.
Okay.
And any other thoughts for other people? I asked, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, for other people, if they need it,
Yeah.
it should be a thing.
Right?
But not necessarily.
It's one of those things where it's like trying to steer a boat. When it's sunny, anyone can steer a boat. It's fine. It's easy. But when the weather's bad, you need to be good at steering the boat. You need to have a lot of safety measures in place so that you don't tip over, right? And marriage can kind of be like that too, where sure, 99% of the time, being married is just a certificate, right? But the 1% of the time where you're in the hospital and your significant other can't visit you because only family can. Or there are times where you lose somebody and they're family, but you live together, but now you lose half of your stuff because it goes to someone else in their will. I don't know. Or there are things where even just tax benefits, right? There are just tangible reasons why you'd want to get married. And that's not even, to say anything about just the feelings and just having the world accept your relationship with somebody and just being able to show that, right? There are very good reasons for it, but you have to, a lot of people, I guess, don't think that far ahead, I guess. And that's why things like Pride are so important, to educate people, to say, hey, we're here. Hey, there are issues. Let's not get too comfortable. Let's not forget about them. There's still much more, work that needs to be done, right? That's the important thing. So I'm not surprised that a lot of young people wouldn't think that. For them in their 20s, they're just, experimenting. Their bodies are still changing, and they're getting used to just working and going out, right? So that's their main thing. Like getting a significant other, like getting a boyfriend, getting a girlfriend or whatever, getting a partner, like that's like whoa to them right now. So that's what they're focused on, right? Yeah. They're not thinking about 30 years down the line if your pension's going to be enough, right?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I don't blame them for not doing that, but that's why it's our job to say, it is important, and here's why. Right?
Yeah, I agree. I think they don't know yet.
Not yet.
But, there's going to be some particular issues without that, right? Yeah. So, and also, I think I did interview a lot of older people back then, but I've talked to some older friends, gay friends. They don't necessarily think same-sex marriage is very necessary either, because I think, especially in Japan, people have this really particular mindset, which is, being the same with other people is very important.
Okay.
We need to blend in society, right? That mindset is one thing. And also, we've made it work.
Okay, without it. You've done
without it.
Yeah.
Without the legal support or without any support from the community. I've made it work as an individual. Yeah. So if people want to have that happiness, they should work hard by themselves. That kind of mindset, once I experience all of this long, really hard journey, other people should have that same amount of effort.
I think pain.
A lot of people in Japan tend to have that kind of mentality almost.
Yeah. Well, you see it in the West too.
You think?
Yeah, I think so. Like, there's a lot of people who I had to work hard and had to go for this sort of pain. You see it a lot with child rearing, with bringing up children, where my family made me, I don't know, just really uncomfortable. My family maybe hit me as a child or yelled at me as a child, or I had to go through that, but that's what made me strong. So so that's why I'm going to teach you the same way.
Right.
Where I'm just like, sure. But there are other ways to learn, other ways to teach.
Yeah.
And some ways maybe it might not seem as effective, or maybe some ways are harder to do, which is different, in the context of children, that's a hard job and parents are stressed. So, trying to be gentle while doing that is hard. But there are other ways. And sometimes sometimes you can do more harm than good. The more damage, the way you do things, right? And that's why, in context of LGBT relations, sure, you can be just I put my head down, I didn't stand out, maybe I found a partner, or maybe I enjoy my life somehow. But sure, it's working for now. But there are people out there who, if people stopped fighting for rights, they would take their rights away. There are definitely, you see that in a lot of places in the world right now.
Yeah.
Where if people stop fighting, it would go back. It would go backwards, right?
That's really scary.
Which people don't realize until it's too late. And then there are, there are also the other things where sometimes these people who work hard and do it all by themselves, nobody does it by themselves. A lot of times they can go to a gay bar because that owner he made this bar, probably had to, explain to somebody when renting the space what he's using it for.
Oh, yeah.
And maybe even if he doesn't explicitly say, hey, this is an LGBT space, it'll be pretty obvious at one point, especially if landlords come to check it out.
Yeah.
So the people like that, they're fighting for you to have the space.
Yeah, right.
People are fighting to have services open, right? Like mental health services, or like even just free STD clinics, right? Like, I mean, those things affect more than just the LGBT community, but they're there for you, but you didn't meet those things. Those are someone else you put in that work, you know? So I think like, it's easy to just be like, yeah, I did it. It works for me. Why do we need more? And it's just like, you gotta work to keep it the same, just like working out, just like going to the gym, right? If you stop going to the gym, you will lose that muscle mass, right? So you gotta keep going for consistency. And sometimes new problems pop up and you gotta fix those too. And that's why it's important. And I know people don't want to stand out. They don't want to be loud. They don't want to, make a scene. But sometimes, we say in English, the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
All right.
Yeah. Right. Kind of the opposite of like the Japanese saying, which is, what is it? The nail get hammering down. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Kind of the mangeku.
Yeah.
Very opposite, right? That's why it's important. Advocating, educating.
Yeah. I totally
fighting.
agree.
Yeah.
So I think, relatively older people probably think here in Japan, younger people just, get nice free ride.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there's a little bit of resentment there. And I'm like, I get that. I can totally empathize for that, because it was sometimes, I'm sure it was harder in a lot of ways in the past, right? And things, because of people's hard work, are getting easier.
Yeah.
And, the growth of Tokyo Pride is a huge testament to that. Like, it is getting bigger and bigger every year.
And we shouldn't forget that history anyway.
Yeah. But we shouldn't forget the history. And I know that for some people, like, especially older people, seeing people be open and enjoying themselves in a way they couldn't in the past might make them feel uncomfortable, or they might think of a lot of things. But I hope that they remember that, like, the direction that we're going right now, this was like the goal, right? Yeah. To be more, not just to be open, but for it to be normalized, and not to be, not to be something to be ashamed of, or be something to hide, right? And even if, like, it's, the times are different, you couldn't do when you were younger, like, I hope that, even older people can appreciate that the future generations can have it a little easier.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, I totally agree. I when watched this movie called 94歳のゲイ.
94歳のゲイ.
Yeah, it's about this really old gay guy in Osaka.
Okay.
It's a documentary, right?
Right.
Then he actually passed away earlier this year or last year. But in this movie, he talks about, like, how he had been alone, hiding his sexuality. He even had to change his job once, like, people kind of
figured it out.
Yeah. So he kept changing his jobs, and he was just living alone, right?
Right.
And he had some support later on in his life.
Okay.
And I think right after the movie was out last year, he actually came to Tokyo for the first time in his life.
Really? Wow. Okay.
So
never been to Tokyo?
He never been to. That's probably not true, but like for a long time.
Yeah. To years.
In his life.
I mean, at 94, I'm sure he doesn't move around too much.
He didn't really go explore the world in his life. So, but he had that kind of different stage of life at the end. Yeah. Right before he died.
Away.
Right?
Yeah.
And
damn,
can you imagine that? I can't imagine that kind of lifestyle. No. And he was still really kind to younger people. He joined some meetings about LGBTQ community with younger people. He was really kind and generous, talking to those people, and especially he probably wanted to share his experience.
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah, I'm glad. And like he made the documentary. I kind of want to see that now.
Yeah. It
Yeah.
was really
That's crazy.
great documentary. It was
Yeah.
very touching.
Oh.
Yeah.
I hope he was happy in his final moments.
I'm sure he was happy at the
Yeah.
end. But yeah, right? Some
Right.
people have that kind of life.
Yes.
So-
Again, small fishing village for 5 years. I met some DL guys, right?
That's right.
Yeah. And
I think we wanna have a different episode for
that.
that.
Oh God, right?
it's a lot.
Foreshadowing.
It's
right?
a lot to take. So
Yeah.
we can't
So-
just introduce that
Oh,
your
don't
story quickly.
Yeah, don't worry. I won't go into that now. But there are people who feel like they can't live that life.
Yeah,
you know?
right?
Right? Or they didn't even know they had that option, right?
Mhm.
Like they didn't know what like gay was, right? I mean, now it seems so normal for us because we have like smartphones, so we have access to the internet,
Yeah.
and I mean, a lot of the young kids too. Like they are realizing, oh, I'm different, like a lot faster,
Mhm.
right? And I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully they're not doing anything too inappropriate too early, but like learning about who you are is super important, especially in your teens.
Yeah.
Like a lot of your identity and a lot of what you choose to do afterwards in life gets formed in those years. So like, yeah, knowing that like, oh, you know what? Maybe children aren't for me, or maybe I don't want to stay in this hometown forever. Like just knowing that really early is really good, because then you can move to Tokyo, like, you know, after high school, or then you could not try to save up for a house in this one place or buy a house in your hometown, but feel like you have to stay there forever now.
Yeah.
Right? Like those are the sort of decisions that I guess make a lot of people feel stuck, you know?
Mhm.
So definitely, it's important, you know, for the young people to realize this when they can.
Yeah,
Right?
that's so true.
I think so.
Yeah, I hope society gets more education
Yeah.
so that straight people get to know more about, you know, LGBTQ people and culture,
Yeah.
and then also the history,
Yeah.
so that, you know, I hope young kids
Yeah.
won't feel like they have to leave their hometowns.
I mean, yeah, that's true. Like,
Right.
I mean, that'll be something that, like, oh God, I just said it's so normal because it's something I've seen a lot. But
It's
yeah,
really common.
It's really common
now.
for people in the LGBT community to not want to go back home,
Mm.
right? Because they know that if they went back home, they'd have to deal with people who might have opinions on them,
Yeah.
right? Yes,
I think that's still happening in many countries, many
Yeah.
areas, right?
right. So hopefully, you know, when I'm like 94, hopefully, like, you know, that's not a thing anymore. And I can, you know, be just like, oh, you know what? I'm okay with that. You know, I have no resentment. Just, yeah, you like your family likes your partner. That's great.
Yeah,
Even in
right?
Japan, right?
I really hope so.
It's getting more normal
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's happening. That conversation's a lot more normal, already happening in places like Canada. Where, like, I remember when I was in high school, we have the other family, like my mom's best friend, her daughter was dating a guy,
Okay.
and her boyfriend, they broke up. But her boyfriend broke up with her because he realized he was gay.
Okay, right.
And one time, she brought her now ex, and her ex's boyfriend. So the three of them came over to our house
Okay.
once. And I remember my mom was very awkward. She was like,
new to her.
it's very new to her. She was just like, I don't know what I should be doing. And I'm just like, she was still pretty good at it,
Yeah.
especially because she was just like, yo girl, why, she didn't say yo girl, but like, she's like, why are you still hanging out with your ex and your ex's new partner? Like, are you okay?
That's a question.
That's the question. Like, I mean, like, sure, like, you know, oh shoot, you know, he's got a boyfriend,
Right.
and that's like, you know, the thing that was most obvious and in the air. But like, my mom was able to, like, you know, process that and then focus on the other details. Is she okay? She's still hanging on, you know, that sort of
She
thing.
wasn't offensive or anything.
Yeah, it wasn't offensive.
Right.
Didn't know what to say to them.
Just confused.
Yeah, confused. Yeah, just very like, I don't see anything, kind of sort of thing.
That's a cute story, though.
Yeah, but like, it's moving on, right? Like, yeah, there's a lot of stories nowadays of people just like not knowing what to do, but not like having a full fit, not like, you know, fighting, not getting enraged and stuff, not kicking their kids out anymore.
That's a perfect opportunity to learn about LGBTQ people because
Yeah.
they're family members, right?
Yeah.
So they, for your mom,
Yeah.
she couldn't just kick them out.
Right. Yeah.
She somehow needed to understand how it worked and how she should respond to them.
Yeah.
So that's a
experience.
Yeah.
Very good experience. Like I was shocked because like my mom is never, she's not an awkward lady. She was awkward. She was so awkward. So I'm just like, there's stuff my mom doesn't know. You know, I was still like a kid at the time, right?
Yeah.
So like, yeah, it was a good experience for me.
You?
How old was I? I must have been like 12 or 13.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really good experience for you too.
Yeah, right? Because I don't think I'd ever
You didn't
seen...
even know who you
Not
were
at all.
back then.
Thinking about it now, that was probably one of the first like gay couples I saw in real life, you know? Like, yeah, you know, I don't think that might have been one of the first ones I've ever seen.
Okay.
Yeah, just two teenage boys, just like, you know, like 16, 17. Yeah.
That sounds so Canada.
Yeah, right? Pretty young and open. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So this was like, it's more almost like 20 years ago now. This conversation.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? So it's different in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you finally came out to your mom.
Yes.
Kind of recently.
Yeah.
Was it?
Last year? Has it been a year? Oh my God, it hasn't even been a year.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, it was a year ago. Almost forgot about that. Yeah. Before I started my last job, I think. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It was time. Right? Yeah.
Can you give me more details about that?
So, what was it? Like, for some like background story. Like, I moved to Tokyo on a contract, so I had a job for the first 6 months, but then I had to find something else, right? And it was like a race against time.
Yeah.
I was, you know, while I was doing my job around like April, May, I was really trying to, you know, search for a new job, and it was hard. I was like,
you're panicking.
I was losing hope. Like, it was getting really hard until
you almost left, actually.
Yeah.
Right?
Yes. If I don't find something soon, I don't know, I'm going to have to go back home, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how long I can stay in Tokyo paying Tokyo rent without a job, right? So, thankfully, I found a job. But it was really late. Like, I think in June, I connected with somebody who showed me to their company. And then I was doing interviews with them for like June and July. Yeah. And then it was at the end of July that I got the job. So once I got that job offer at the end of July, oh my God, when I say the sense of accomplishment that I had it was unreal. It's like, I did it.
Yeah. And it's actually what you wanted to do, right?
It's what I wanted to do. And so, yeah, more so than my last job. So it was perfect. Yeah. And I'm just like, this was the right move. And through that all, I had to work on myself a lot. Like I had to, you know, not, you know, cave in to despair, you know, keep up the confidence, go to those interviews saying, yes, you want me, right? And as a person, my confidence grew a lot in last year just because of working on that, right? And when the dust finally settled, it's August. You know, I've got time before my new job. Don't have a job now. But then I look back and I'm like, I did it. I've grown as a person. I took a risk. I know I can do these things now. This is the life I want to do. And especially after being in Tokyo for a year and making a lot more, you know, just like gay friends and everything, I just had this moment where I'm just like, it's time. You know,
you were ready.
Yeah, this person, like I had grown so much where I'm just like, when I thought about, you know, when I told my mom and stuff, telling her about, you know, how great my life is now and, you know, that I found this job, it was like, it felt weird to have to like hide some parts of it. Like why staying in Japan meant so much to me, right? Because, you know, it wasn't just that I love Japan, it's that I liked the life that I had here, you know, I could hang out with like people like you, right? You know, we had,
you have a full life here now.
Full life, job, friends, you know, hobbies, you know, communities here, right? That I'm a part of now. And it's really important to me, but I couldn't share that with my mom, you know? And right now I still don't. Like I don't know how much she wants to hear about that. But then having to be, so excited and so satisfied with what I did, and then having to just I can't say this part because it's hiding it from my mom, and I'm just like, no. For me, like I had a point where it wasn't just hard to hold back. It wasn't like something that it wasn't disappointing or anything.
Yeah.
It just kind of felt kind of lame. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just like it wasn't me anymore, Like I didn't need to hide it anymore.
Right.
Like maybe it was again just the confidence speaking, or just just the high from having it all work out for me. But I'm just like, no. Maybe before when I was in Canada, I didn't feel like sharing that with my mom, or when I'm still experimenting with things, I wasn't sure.
Even you were not sure.
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Yeah, exactly. I wasn't sure. Like when I met you, like the year before that, like in Taiwan, I was like, even that point, I still didn't know a lot of things, right? So, but then time passed, and I changed, and I grew, and I became more sure. I knew what I wanted. I knew how I felt about things, and especially after being like, growing so much, trying to find a job and find my place in this new community. I'm just like, I wasn't the person who needed to hide that sort of thing anymore. So then there was a point where I'm just like, oh, this is an old habit now, right? Okay. And I'm just like, it's not me anymore.
So it wasn't you if you just kept hiding it.
This wasn't me anymore, right?
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
So that's why that was the moment where I'm just like, okay, I need to tell her. Not because like it meant so much to me, but because it would just kind of be weird not to. It was just like, why am I hiding this anymore? I just outgrew it, Outgrowing, it was probably the best way to put that. So then, just one time on the phone, and again, it was in August, right before my new job. I'm just like, you know what? I've been meaning to tell you this for a long time, but... and she was, I don't know, disappointed? It's a harder... not this. She had like a very acknowledging sigh. She's like, that was kind of her reaction.
Okay.
And it was like,
what does that mean though?
Right. So she knew.
Oh yeah.
So I think what that means, like she knew, but she didn't want to accept it.
Okay.
So when I finally, kind of ripped off the Band-Aid, she's just like, there it is.
Right.
I knew it. I knew it. Sort of thing, right?
Okay.
And like she didn't really say much, but like, just stay safe. Don't do anything embarrassing, I guess. No promises there. But yeah, that's kind of how that conversation went.
Okay. Yeah.
Now I haven't really talked to her. I haven't really brought it up since then. But I mean, my love life is very stagnant right now, so there's nothing to really talk about.
That's a different topic.
You're right.
Yep. So
so there's nothing to bring up. Okay. But that's kind of the story about how I came out to my mom.
That was a really nice story for me to hear, because I don't know, just seeing you grow up like that is really empowering, actually. Yeah, I was actually there, when you're panicking about your job. So
yes. Oh man, I was stressed.
Yeah,
right.
I couldn't really do everything for you, but
you helped a lot. You we were cooking here, like
some,
it helped. Thank you.
Yeah. So I really I'm really happy that everything worked out for you.
So am I. Yeah, and it was good, right? Like stressful, lots of hiccups along the way, but in the end, I don't want to say in the end it turned out okay, because that takes all the power away from me. No, put in the work. I learned what my strengths were, learned what my weaknesses were, worked on the weaknesses, showcased my strengths, and just see what the world gave me. Yeah. And this is where I am now. Right? If I had to do it all again, I would.
Yeah?
I'd do it all again.
Oh.
I'd do it all again.
Oh, that sounds sweet.
Yeah. Yeah. And now, sometimes when I go to like bars and stuff, and I share stories like that, I can, empower other people.
Yeah, exactly,
stories,
right?
Right?
Yeah, I think that's a really important thing to, do as an adult.
Yeah.
I think like like the the people I interviewed
Yeah.
at Pride years back,
Mhm.
they're probably just young,
Yep.
didn't know
Yep.
what to do,
Right. Exactly.
So
So you got to give them the stories.
at least,
Mhm.
at least I can do is
Mhm.
something like this, talking to the camera to my audience,
Yeah.
about our
Mhm.
experience, right? So
It's
that
important.
they can probably learn
Yeah.
something from us,
Something.
hopefully.
Even if it's not like a huge, deep moral lesson that they learn, they can just see that, we're here. We exist.
Yeah.
We're living right now at this moment of time, right? Be a part of that. They might see this video. They might see us, at TRP, at Pride, like right afterwards or something,
Yeah, that'd be really lovely.
Whatever. Say hi, definitely.
Yeah, please.
If you're here, come say hi.
Yeah, right. Every single person has a really long journey.
Yeah.
About their life, not just about sexuality,
Yeah.
right? Because mine was quite long too.
Yeah.
I knew that I was gay when I was
Pretty early.
about 15 or something.
Oh, gosh.
So it was
Okay.
early enough,
Early
but
enough, yeah.
it took so long for me to accept it, and and also like determine, to live my life
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
in a really positive way. It took like 10 years or something.
Yeah.
And basically, it feels
10
like
years.
my life finally started after I went to Canada.
You mentioned that.
When
Yeah.
I was already 30,
Mhm.
on your age, right?
Yeah.
So, and I'm now 42,
Mhm.
so it's been only like 12 years since then.
Yeah.
And then my life has been much better since then. I met so many, people in Canada.
Yeah.
And so they're really nice lifestyle.
Mhm.
I've met so many gay people. I've
Yeah.
met some lesbians.
Mhm.
I didn't really have opportunity to meet transgender people.
Okay.
So that's one thing
Yeah.
I wish I
Some more.
had
Yeah.
that opportunity too.
Mm.
But at least I had that experience and then learned a lot about LGBTQ people and then how society accepts it.
Yeah.
And then same-sex marriage was already legal in Canada.
Yeah.
Right?
For a couple decades now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Pride Parade I saw in Vancouver was so nice.
Yeah.
I was really touched,
Right. So what would you like about it? I've never been, so I don't know anything about Vancouver Pride.
So Vancouver, it's not a big city
Not-
compared to Tokyo, but it was like whole city was full of people,
Right.
like really, really crowded.
Yeah, people travel for Pride, right?
Yeah, everywhere from other countries too.
Yeah.
And also like what I what I liked the most was that even young kids during the event,
Yeah, right?
they just walk with, a bunch of different kinds of people,
Yeah.
holding really positive
Like,
messages.
yeah, right? So sweet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I like when Pride is like inclusive like that, right? Some people, like I've heard people like not like the parades if people go a little crazy, or they go like, they let loose a little too much. Maybe they're not wearing a lot, or they're not saying things that are very appropriate.
Yeah, it's been an issue.
It's been an issue sometimes.
Pride too.
Yeah, right? And I can see that. I get that. But like personally, I would like, Pride to be like the official event where, people are, they're wearing their suit and ties, they're being nice, nice and clean, no swear words, for the kids. And then you have the parties and the events afterwards.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair balance.
We can just switch, right?
Yeah.
So at least, the parade itself should be very, kids friendly and inclusive.
Right? Yeah. I personally think that would be the right way to go if that's what it's saying.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
Yeah, but, it's that's just one opinion. Some people, they want to, go a little further with that. Say, we do this sort of thing, and that should also be accepted, or we do this sort of thing, and being visible is important because if people don't know about it, they don't know if they like it or not, right? And that's important too, right? But like, so it's a very fuzzy line.
Yeah, it is.
Right.
But sadly, a lot of people don't get enough information about us,
Yeah.
straight people,
Yes.
in this context.
Yes.
So we don't want to scare them in the first place.
That's true. That's true. I know you catch more flies with honey than with vinegar.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we need to be careful
Yeah.
about what we want to do.
Yes.
Pride.
Right.
So
I feel like a lot of people in the LGBT community, like there are a lot of people who are very artsy, or a lot of people who are very, I don't know how to put it, like a lot of people who like performance arts, and a lot of people who are just just really funny. A lot of people have like lots of personality, and those are things that are perfect for marketing, for telling stories, and for getting people involved and interested. Right? I feel like in the West, for example, like a lot of slang comes from the LGBT community. Like you'll have a lot of just, really funny, just maybe the gay people, and they'll come up with new words, new sayings, and then even straight people start using them.
Right,
and then
right,
now it's like they become more normalized, and the influence on the community, the world as a whole, from the LGBT community is strong, and that's why it can be strong. It can be really strong and really positive. So I do wish that, I hope that Japan gets to see a little more of that, where, of course, at its own pace, because again, if you force it down someone's throat, they're not going to enjoy it, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I hope to see more of that too.
Right.
I think there are also some cultural differences between, for example, Japan and Canada.
Yeah.
People tend to be here in Japan, tend to be more discreet and shy, and not vocal about everything they think.
Yeah.
And people don't like to talk about anything related to, for example, religion, politics, right? And then our human rights, meaning LGBTQ people's human rights, is directly connected to politics here, everywhere, to be honest.
Yeah.
So we can't really avoid that topic. But a lot of even LGBTQ people don't really comfortable enough to talk about this.
Yeah.
Right. That's why I think a lot of people tend to avoid this topic.
Yeah.
It's kind of considered as a touchy topic.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially in
unfortunately.
Japan. Yeah. It does. And the cultural difference is really important, right? Because I think I want to say that in a lot of cultures, in a lot of countries, it started the same way, and then it started to develop and change and stuff. But I think again, the advocates abroad, that in other countries, they were probably louder or more persuasive, or they knew their audience, they knew how to talk to them, and after years of work, things change for I think the better. But in Japan, definitely, it's a different place for a different audience. The approach from the advocates and people who want to talk about it, it's going to have to be different.
Yeah.
It's going to take a new shape.
Yeah, it wouldn't really go in the same way.
No.
I think one of the reasons, a clear reason, is probably, for example, human rights movement for LGBTQ people in America started with a really, really strong anger.
Yeah.
Right? It exploded.
Yeah.
And that it started, right?
Yeah.
We probably didn't really have the same level of anger to begin with. And then culturally, we think we are not really supposed to show our emotions like that publicly.
Right.
It's not a good manner. That's what people say,
Yeah,
right?
I can see that.
So because of that difference in the culture, I think even we both want the same thing at the end.
Yeah.
I think the approach needs to be really different.
It's got to be very nuanced, right?
Yeah.
I think.
And we need to be careful, It works in other countries. It should work in this country too. It's not that simple. We need to, approach people more carefully, in a different
underlying, maybe there's some underlying, topics that are the same. I think there are a lot of, underlying themes and a lot of things. A lot of, the goal might be the same, or maybe it might not be. Right?
It can be different.
Right? It could be different, or or they could want the same thing, but have it in a different form, right?
That's possible too.
It's possible too, but it does have to be more nuanced, I think, especially because Japan is not Canada. Japan is not America.
Yeah.
Japan is a different place.
You're right.
So, right?
Yeah, that's one thing I noticed. And then also,
Mhm.
recently, actually, Mikey recommended this book to me.
Yeah.
It's called Velvet Rage.
Velvet Rage.
Yeah, it's written by a gay psychologist,
Okay.
and about a lot of people he talked to in his counseling sessions.
Okay.
It's mainly about male gay men.
Yeah.
Gay men,
Mhm.
and his statement is that a lot of gay men has issues, right?
Right.
And a lot of issues come from shame
Yeah.
about themselves,
Right.
and then that's probably very universal.
I think it's pretty
in many
universal.
countries,
Yeah.
right? And
so.
I think it can be applied in Japan, in Japanese culture as well.
Yeah.
And there's a really, really strong peer pressure in society in Japan. It's much stronger probably than Canada, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Everyone should behave
in
the same way.
Yeah, it's a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're supposed to blend in
Yeah.
society, that kind of culture and mindset.
Yeah.
I think most people have that kind of mindset.
It's hard not to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like even like as a foreigner, I see it sometimes where I'm just like, people are like really afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
Or really afraid of like saying something out of line. Right.
Exactly. So because of that shame that in this context gay men have, I think it's a lot more difficult for gay men because men always have power in society.
Right.
So once you figure out how you like boys, I am in some way a bit less
like weakened.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I have that weakness. So I need to prove that I'm a full man. So that's how people started, acting in a certain way,
Right.
just
being perfect, like overachieving
stuff, and so somehow people kind of burn the fuel to achieve some particular goals.
Yeah.
And for some people it works fine. It works in a very positive way. But some people it works really negatively, I think.
Yeah.
And
I think in general it's kind of a hard in today's society. I think it's still a hurdle to be overcome.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
And one thing is coming out, like you described, your story. Your self-confidence grew a lot. And then you finally came to your mom.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you have shame in you, that cannot really happen easily.
No.
I'm not supposed to be proud of, being myself like this. So you can't really.
It hurts to hear.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So I think that's one area that we probably, should be educated more.
Yes.
And it's really difficult probably in this particular culture in Japan.
Yeah, I agree, which is why like I do think again, it's gonna have to take another form. And I think it's really difficult. But one thing I do find that's interesting, and I want to see more of, are kind of like videos like this actually, where especially sometimes I like TV dramas like what is it? Like The Boyfriend, or like what's the Terrace House? Those sort of like, even like those sort of TV shows, like they're not, the point of them isn't to be deep or meaning thing. It's supposed to just be fun, see who matches up with who, sort of thing. Just kind of I'm not gonna call it trashy, but just kind of like, just for fun, kind of light. Like
content.
Light content. Like seeing those sort of videos in the Japanese context, seeing how Japanese people meet and talk to one another. I think that's really interesting. Because like it's one of the few times where it's like something like The Boyfriend, I feel like it's very Japanese, where it's gonna be like, because they're two like Japanese people talking to each other, right? So hearing what language they use, hearing how fast they move or how slow they go, seeing what sort of things they do together, like it gives you ideas, right? For people who are seeing, like, who are very new, like young people new to the LGBT community, this is some of their like only reference material, right?
Yeah.
Because when you're straight, well, from the time you were a child, you see straight couples everywhere, all on TV,
Mhm.
all in media, everywhere, right? So when you start dating girls, you kind of have or if you're like a guy dating a girl, you're having certain relationships, you kind of have an idea of what sort of things you can do, what sort of order you want to move in,
Mhm.
right? Because there's like it feels like there's like already a list, an order to things,
Yeah.
right? But you don't really have that of
Not
a lot of
really,
your relations, right? You
yeah.
don't know how people move and stuff.
Uh-huh.
So I think like one thing I'm hoping to see is that a lot of like more like gay LGBT media comes out,
Mhm.
and that helps, that helps one show, not educate people, but kind of just put the idea, plant the seed
Yeah.
in their minds about these sort of things and how normal they can be.
Just to visualize what we normally experience.
Yeah, nothing like that being part of the LGBT community isn't all drag shows,
Oh yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And to see just normal people being painfully awkward together because it's a first date.
Right.
And because sometimes first dates are awkward, right?
Yeah.
No matter what your orientation is, right? And again, if it's in media form, then anyone can watch it. It doesn't have to just be LGBT media for LGBT people. Straight people can watch it too.
Mhm.
Straight people, maybe you'll watch it with your family, or if your one gay friend will put it on TV,
Yeah.
and other people are watching it now, and you're like, oh, this guy is an asshole, right? Why does this guy like this guy? He's such a jerk. He be with the other good guy, right? And now it's not even about like LGBT. It's just about
Yeah.
wanting your favorite characters to be happy with whoever and stuff. And that's nothing to do with the LGBT community. That's just good media, right? It's just enjoyable.
Mhm.
And I feel like that's where like we have a chance, especially even in Japan. Sure, it needs to be, tailored for a Japanese audience,
Mhm.
but I feel like there's so much more room for growth in that area,
Yeah, there is.
right? And I'm hoping that's one of the ways that helps the LGBT community and just Japan in general, like embrace the idea a lot more, even if they can't, even if they only hold up signs and pickets and advocate that way.
Yeah, you have more potential.
Right. That's right. Gay art. That's what we need more.
Yeah, you're
Right.
so right.
Right.
I think we're gonna see a lot of those people in Tokyo Pride.
Yes.
Right?
We can be those people to
Yeah,
Pride, right?
That's exciting.
Yeah. That's too passive. Just seeing people is too passive for me. I want to be active. I want to be a part of this now. That's more my style.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, me too. Me too. This time I'll be there. So please say hi if you find me.
Do it.
All right. I think we're gonna have some follow-up episodes.
Ooh, after TRP?
Yeah, TRP.
Ooh, let's do it.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, we're gonna talk about more about Tokyo Pride after the event. So please come back to the channel.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, this is the end of this episode.
Yep. All right, guys. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.
See you next time. Bye.